Did you all see what happened on Sunday? Did you see how this team just fell apart right in front of our eyes? Because let me tell you something, Commanders fans, what we just watched against Dallas wasn't just another loss. It was a fire alarm blaring through Northwest Stadium. We've got our franchise quarterback limping off the field, a defense that looks like Swiss cheese, and one stat that's kept me up since Sunday night. But hang on, because right in the middle of this total meltdown, there's one player yelling, "I'm still here," while everything else burns down. Stick around until the end because we're breaking down every single piece of this 3-4 nightmare. And I promise what I'm about to reveal about our offense is going to chill you. Look, I know we all saw Jaden Daniels hobbling off in the third quarter. I know our hearts dropped when we saw him grab at that hamstring. But let me tell you something even more concerning than that injury. Yeah, Ian Rapoport says it's not major and that he could be back by week 9 against Seattle. That's good, right? But here's the thing no one's talking about. There's a stat that JP Finley from NBC Sports dropped that's been haunting me. You want to know why this offense feels so off this year? Why every drive feels like climbing uphill? I'll tell you this. Back in 2024, the Commanders were converting 45% of their third downs. 45%. Sixth best in the entire NFL. Sixth place Commanders fans. That's elite. That's playoff level offense dotted now. You know where we're at in 2025 after 7 games. 35%. 24th in the league. You get what that means. That's a 10-point drop in a single year. 10 points. Same quarterback. Practically the same offensive system. Cliff Kingsbury still calling plays dot, so I gotta ask, how does a team fall from 6th to 24th in third down conversions with a quarterback who's supposed to be improving in year 2? How? Because I think I know, and you're not gonna like it. This offense has become completely dependent on Jaden's ability to improvise. When the design plays crash, when protection breaks, when the receivers can't get open, Jaden's got to make magic out of nothing. That worked last year because defenses were still trying to figure him out. But now in 20-20-5, defensive coordinators have a full season of film on him. They know what to look for. They know when he's going to take off. They know how to contain his scrambles. And here's the real issue. When Jaden went down against Dallas with that hamstring tweak, what happened? The offense just vanished. Completely. Because we don't have a plan B. There's no system that works. When our quarterback can't pull off, hero ball plays every third down. Dan Quinn even admitted it after the game. The head coach said it's fair to dig deeper and ask, what needs to be different? You hear that? What needs to be different? We play again in 8 days, and it's got to be better, man. But here's what I believe. It's not just about 8 days or tiny adjustments. This is a full-on reevaluation of what this offense is even trying to be. Because just look at the numbers, Commanders fans. Look at the cold, hard truth. We came into the Dallas game without Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, or Noah Brown. Jaden was throwing to guys who probably didn't even know all the playbook routes yet. And he was still fighting. Still trying to keep drives alive. Until his body said no more. And he had to step out. And you know what's the scariest part? We're about to face Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Andy Reid, the offensive genius who's going to watch the Dallas tape and build a game plan that exposes every single weakness we have. Every gap in protection. Every receiver who can't separate. Every predictable third and long call. Cowboys dropped 44 on us. 44. And it wasn't because their offense is unstoppable. It was because our defense couldn't get off the field. It was because we couldn't convert on third downs to keep our offense out there and give the defense a breather. It's a vicious cycle. And that third down stat is the heartbeat of the problem. I'm telling you right now, if Jaden Daniels can't go against Kansas City, if that hamstring keeps him sidelined even one more game, this season might be over before Thanksgiving. Because we're 3-4, below 500 for the first time all year. And the schedule ahead, brutal. Remember when we started 3-0 and everyone was whispering Super Bowl talk? Remember when this offense looked unstoppable? Feels like forever ago now. Because the truth is NFL defensive coordinators are too smart. They adjust. They evolve. And if your offense doesn't evolve with them, if you keep running the same plays, same concepts, same QB improvisations, they're going to figure you out. And Commanders fans, we've been figured out. That drop from 45 to 35% on third down conversions isn't just a stat. It's a siren. It's the universe telling us something fundamental is broken here. And we need to fix it now, not in the offseason. Not after the season's lost. Now, because here's the hard truth nobody wants to say out loud. Jaden Daniels is brilliant. He's the future. He's why we still have hope. But even the best quarterback in the world can't overcome a system that isn't setting him up to succeed. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. But if you thought offense was our only problem, buckle up. Because we've got a time bomb ticking in our secondary, and its name is Marshon Lattimore. Look, I get the investment. Adam Peters spent premium draft capital to bring this guy from the Saints before the 2024 trade deadline. 4-time Pro Bowler. At his peak, one of the top corners in the league. A real shutdown guy who could erase a team's number one receiver. But Commanders fans, that Marshon Lattimore doesn't exist anymore. And the sooner we accept that, the better. John Keane from ESPN just dropped something on his podcast that made me furious. He said Washington still views Lattimore as one of its best corners. That they still believe he can turn it around. That he's not getting benched not yet anyway. You know what that tells me? It tells me this organization's more interested in justifying a bad trade than in winning football games. Because let me tell you what I saw against Dallas. I saw a corner getting burned deep over and over again. I saw techniques so sloppy, it's costing us dumb penalties at key moments. I saw a guy trying to make up for lost athleticism with grabs and shoves. Moves refs are calling every time now. Dan Quinn said after the game they'll tweak the scheme and personnel. That they'll play more zone to cover Lattimore's weaknesses. Did you hear that? Zone coverage to hide your number one corner. That's basically admitting the problem's real, but refusing to do anything bold about it. Now, I've got to ask, how long are we going to keep this up? How many more yards are we giving away? How many more touchdowns before we admit this trade might have been a mistake? Because I get it, Lattimore's not the only issue in the secondary. Bobby Wagner's showing his age. Frankie Louvu's been invisible. The D-line isn't generating enough pressure. All true, but Lattimore's the name. The pedigree. The supposed leader of this defense. And instead, he's become a liability. Fans are fed up watching him turn into the weak link. And I'll tell you this, when we face Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes on Monday Night Football, they're coming straight for him. No mercy. They'll line up Travis Kelce on him. They'll scheme plays to make him look like a practice squad corner. And you know what's the most frustrating part? John Keane says the organization still believes. Still won't make a drastic move. Still giving him chances. That's a massive mistake. Because when you've got a player clearly struggling, when opposing offenses are actively hunting him, when every coordinator's circling that matchup in red on their board, you've got to act. You can't just hope it fixes itself. This team's playoff hopes are wobbling. We're 3-4 with a brutal road ahead. We need some soul searching and real adjustments. And players like Lattimore need to step up and show that fight that got us to the NFC Championship game last season. Because if they don't, if we keep seeing the same play, the same mistakes, then the calls to pull Lattimore out of the fire are going to be deafening. And no one will be watching more closely than Adam Peters. Because at the end of the day, Peters made that trade. Peters spent that draft capital. And if this ends up being a full-blown bust, if Lattimore can't regain even a slice of his old form, that's a huge stain on Peters' record as GM. Look, I'm not saying Lattimore's a bad guy. I'm not saying he isn't trying. But effort doesn't cut it in the NFL. Results matter. And right now, the results are awful. You really think this is sustainable? That we can keep hiding our highest paid corner and zone coverage and expect to compete for a title? I'm telling you right now, no chance. Something's got to change. And fast. Because every game, every yard we give away, every flag we draw, it's all pulling us further from our goals. Now here's the wild part. In the middle of all this disaster, in this brutal 44-22 blowout loss to Dallas, there was one guy who stood up and said, "I'm not quitting." Darron Payne had an absolute monster day against the Cowboys. And I mean it. He racked up 3 tackles for loss, including one on the very first play of the game. 3 TFLs against a division rival in a game where almost everything else went sideways. And I've got to ask, isn't that exactly what we need from our vets? That kind of fire and production that actually justifies keeping a guy around. Because let me remind everyone, Darron Payne's entering a critical year. His contract has a potential out in 2026 that will cost Washington $11.2 million in dead cap instead of shelling out $28 million for him to stay. That's a massive decision Adam Peters has coming. And after what I saw Sunday, after watching Payne battle on every snap while chaos unfolded all around him, I think the choice is clear. This guy's having a bounce-back season. Sure, only 1 sack in 7 games, but that number doesn't tell the story. He's consistently pressuring backfields, making plays on defense and special teams. That blocked field goal in Week 6 against Chicago? Huge. The forced fumble in Week 4 versus Atlanta? Also big, even though we couldn't recover it. That's exactly the sort of production Washington's been desperate for from their high-paid interior linemen, especially after a disappointing 2024 campaign. The Commanders let longtime partner Jonathan Allen go this past offseason, and Payne stepped into that leadership role on and off the field in his 8th year in the NFL. Do you see how big that is? After we cut Allen, people wondered if Payne could be that guy, the anchor, the tone-setter. And so far, the answer's been a loud yes. But here's the problem. His energy hasn't carried over to the rest of this defense. The secondary's still leaky, giving up chunk plays and dumb penalties. The linebackers? Disappointing. Bobby Wagner's looking his age. Frankie Louvu's still Maya. And to make things worse, defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, Jr., one of the few bright spots, next to Payne, went down in the opening drive against his old team. He'd been gutting through a sore hamstring, and now he's done for the year with a serious knee issue. That's devastating. Armstrong was one of the only guys getting consistent pressure. And now he's gone, so now Payne's got to carry even more of the load. He's got to keep dominating. He's got to find ways to make an impact, not just for himself, but to make up for Armstrong's absence. And you know what? I think he can do it. Because what I saw against Dallas wasn't just a good game. It was a statement. It was Payne saying, "I don't care what's falling apart around me. I'm giving it everything." That's the mindset we need from everyone in that locker room. Especially now, sitting at 3-4, staring down the barrel of a lost season. Look, things look rough right now for the Commanders. No sugarcoating it. But at least number 94 is handling business. At least we've got one dude on that defense showing the fight we expect. And when Adam Peters sits down next offseason to decide if Payne's worth $28 million or the $11.2 million cap hit, I hope he remembers games like this. I hope he remembers the guy who didn't quit when everything else was falling apart. Because in the NFL, loyalty's a two-way street. And Darron Payne's shown plenty of it to this team, this city, these fans. He's given it all even when the results didn't match the effort. Doesn't that deserve something back? Doesn't that earn him a little loyalty too? I think it does. So here we are, Commanders fans. 3-4. Under 500. Franchise quarterback dealing with a hamstring injury. A defense giving up points like it's handing out candy on Halloween. A third down stat that's fallen from 6th to 24th in just 1 year. Is it time to panic? Some might say yes, but I'm saying this. It's time to respond. It's time for Cliff Kingsbury and his offensive staff to find ways to be more creative, more unpredictable, more efficient on third downs. Time for Dan Quinn to make the tough calls on who deserves to be on the field and who doesn't. Time for Adam Peters to take a hard look in the mirror and decide what needs fixing. And above all, it's time for us, the fans, to decide whether we're going to bail or ride with this team. Because let me tell you something. I've seen this franchise in darker spots than 3 and 4. I've lived through seasons with zero hope when every Sunday felt like a guaranteed beatdown. This ain't that. We've still got talent. We've still got a special quarterback. We still have a shot. But that window's closing fast. So here's my question. Are you staying with this team through the rough patch? Are you still believing even when it looks bleak? Or are you jumping ship at the first sign of trouble? Because if you're a real Commanders fan, if you bleed burgundy and gold, then you already know this is when the team needs you the most. Not when we're 3-0 and everything's easy. Now, when we're struggling, when we're hurting, when we're fighting to find our way back. Drop your thoughts below. Tell me what changes you want to see. Should Lattimore get more time, or is it time for a switch? Do you believe this offense can rediscover its 2024 form, or are we seeing its true identity? And if this video gave you a new way to look at this team, hit that subscribe button. Because tomorrow, we've got more news coming. More analysis. More hard truths that need saying. This is a family, Commanders fans. And families stick together when things get tough. So join this community. Be part of something bigger than just watching games on Sunday. Be part of a group of fans that actually gets it, that lives and breathes every snap, every decision, every second. Because when it's all said and done, we'll either rise together or fall together. But either way, we'll be together. And remember, hail to the Redskins.